And we are back. Gotta love it when you pick up your phone and accidentally hit the pause or hit the stop button. All right, so I put that little ball joint in place, screwed it in. That is like a recessed fit into the A-arm. So eventually it's just gonna pull itself right out of the box wrench, which is perfect because it's right where it stops. Snap this little link on, relatively easy, just snap right on. I put this ball joint in on this side, and I didn't snap this link on because I'm hoping to do that on camera. Hopefully, we'll see what happens here. My finger behind it here. You're not seeing anything but my fingernail. There we go. Snap right on. Back down to the bottom. Oops. And that's on. All right. Yeah, another thing I wanted to mention too. They're showing just because they're showing the wheel hex on in this picture. I took the wheel hexes off probably like 2 videos ago, maybe. Every time I was picking this up and just moving it around, they were just falling off, and the pins were falling out and rolling down onto the floor, and it was getting a little bit repetitive searching around on the floor for the pins, so I just took all those out and put them back in the magnetic tray, and then we'll worry about those when the time comes to put on the tires. All right, so we are going to be turning the page here. Just to reiterate, go back, touch on. No mention of any of this hardware on this page. Just wanted to recap that fact. No mention of hardware, no mention of any bag to refer to, parts bag to refer to for any of that stuff. Just want to touch base on that for anybody starting off here. So we are turning the page now. What are we looking at here? This is the front cantilever suspension mount. And it looks like that I believe is for the steering linkage for the servo, for your links to hook up to, and your servo is going to snap on right there for moving this left to right. Front clip assembly, and there we are with what we need: 2 M3 10 millimeters, 2 M3 25 millimeters, 1 M3 8 millimeter. 2 M3 10 millimeters, and 2 M3 nuts. Not a lock nut from the jet looking at it. And no parts bag referral on that. And stepping ahead, we'll be going, ooh, more excitement. Steering links. I'll probably build those off camera. Alright, so let's locate these parts here and everything that is needed for this portion of our program. And we're back. I found all our parts in bag C with our cantilever suspension mount bracket and bag C43. Hope it doesn't blow up. Alright, we'll get all these parts out of here, at least the ones that we need. Looks like we'll be needing these end links for the next page, so I'll just dump all these out real fast here and start positioning things. One more second. Alright, we are back again. I've got all our parts laid out that we're going to need. All our screws in place that we're going to need. The 2 M310s, 2 M325s, 1 M38, and 2 more M310s. These are both tapered. 2 of these M3 lock nuts. And this is what they don't mention that you need right here. No mention on the page about that, but it is obviously being installed right here. So I think the first step here, the first process, is going to be installing this bracket right up here on the front drivetrain. So we'll start installing that here and go from there, since that is the lowest point. And then I think the next thing after that is going to be installing that onto here, slipping in through that bracket. Might actually have to slip that through that bracket before I install it, so I guess the first thing I'll do is actually install that into here. Put that ball joint into this plastic end, put that into here, slide all that through, mount it up, and then we'll go to this cantilever setup. So one moment to get this squared away. Alright, so the ball joint is installed on this plastic part, and it definitely was a good idea to install that first because that slips in there. You could probably get it in there after the fact, but figured probably just better do it beforehand. Make sure we have everything going in the right direction. The screw head on the back half with that going in the right spot. So now we're going to attempt to install it onto here. Not sure where it's going just yet. Probably these two holes right down here. That's my guess. And that is correct. And what size screws are we using here? I'm sorry about that. I'm straying away. $76. 76, those guys right there, the two M3 10mm. Alright, so let me get those guys started, and we'll get this part installed real fast and move on to our next step. Alright, we got that installed. I made sure when I was tightening down these tapered screws here that I just kind of started one in until it started hitting the taper, and then brought the other one down until it started hitting the taper, and then just kind of went back and forth to make sure that it was countersinking evenly. It was definitely a good idea to put this on beforehand because it's hitting on the top of the pinion right there, so there's no way to slide it back out after the fact or to put it in afterwards. So that was a good preemptive strike on that. And in between time, I got a text from my friend Thano. I hang out over at his house every once in a while because he's got that sweet area in his front yard to run around in that big swampy section with the hills and all the fallen down trees. Sent me a text saying that another friend of ours was coming over to his house with a OFNA 8-scale gas buggy. And I did not reply, but it's like 6 o'clock at night. It's going to get dark here pretty quick. So on the next break, I'll send him a text and let him know that I'm working on a project. If he was watching my videos, he'd probably know that. Huh? Weird. Anyway, here we go. We're going to start working on this part. And it looks like we're going to need these 107s, which are those two guys are going at the back here. This other tapered screw, which is the last one left, that guy right there, the 8mm. And then these two big guys look like they're coming up from underneath and are getting those little nuts on them. So those must be those are probably going to be the shock posts for the front of the front shocks for the cantilever front suspension. That's what I'm guessing. Alright, so we'll start getting that stuff installed. I imagine we're going to start with these guys since they're coming up from underneath. We'll do those first and then get this attached to the front chassis here. Alright, so those posts are installed. They kind of give you the indication here that everything should be kind of tightened loosely. They don't really give you the indication on the posts here for the shocks, but I really don't want to have any trouble in the future, like taking the shocks on and off with having these guys spin loose on me. So I put a little bit of the hand of God on that guy and torqued it down slightly. Alright, so next step is going to be installing this onto the front chassis here, which are going to be going into these 3 corresponding holes, just like so. Alright, so obviously that's not sitting level, so I'm going to have to do that off camera with these 2 screws and this tapered screw here going in the front. So we'll get that taken care of here. Alright, so moving right along and skipping all the boring stuff. We've got this put together, all squared away and tightened down. I moved over onto this page, built these end links, measured them out. Once again, the one side it has a reverse thread. See that little line on the shaft right there? That is a right-hand thread. This other side is a left-hand thread on both of these. That's so when you're tightening things down, it brings them in at the same time or brings them out at the same time. So you don't have to, like, you know, if it's like just a straight threaded rod, you'd have to take off one end or the other and spin it, you know, to get the proper adjustment. making sure I'm turning the right page here. We are on page 54. Steering link installation. 2 M3 16 millimeters, 1 M3 lock nut, 2 M3, well, it doesn't say M3, but we know what they are, 32 by 7 by 0.5 millimeter washers, so 2 washers. And we are actually going to need 4 of everything if we are going to do both sides. So they should have like the little ×2 insignia up here, or the little left-right insignia. They got a little octagon with a L in it and an R in it. That means that you have to do the same thing on the other side. But they don't have any of that on here that I can see. Same with those lock nuts. It looks like the lock nut's going to go in the back of the steering knuckle here. Alright, so we're going to gather up this hardware ×2 on everything. So 4 of these, 2 of these, 4 of those, and start attaching the hardware here for the steering linkage, which this is being screwed up from underneath into here, and this is being screwed in from on top over here. So this goes on top, this goes underneath. And this one over here, it must be going underneath as well. That's just showing the ball joint for the steering servo hookup. That's got to be going underneath onto here, I'm sure. And then looks like we'll be building more end links. Woohoo! All right, let me grab that hardware from wherever it's located. So we got the, we got the proper equipment for all this bag here. The 4 16 mils, 2 nuts, 4 washers, and the rest of the hardware that was in the bag contained this threaded rod and the links, along with 6 more screws that I'm not too sure what I'm going to be using just yet, or where at. A couple of 4 tapered screws here, different lengths, and 2 button head screws, so I'd assume that's probably going to be the page after this. Alright, so we'll get to screwing this down. Putting the nut in on the end of the link here, as well as putting this in under here. So I think I'm going to put this on this part first, because that looks like it's going to be a little bit more difficult to attach, as well as the other side, and then attach the screws going into the steering knuckles. Since they are going into screws, it shouldn't be as much of a fight pushing it into that plastic. Because like I said, this plastic is a workout running screws into it. Definitely thicker all the way around on everything. Even these little 3 screws gave me some arm pump putting those in. So definitely solid plastic, different plastic all around. I know I covered that before, but just to make note, even the end links are different material, stronger end links. It was I had to lock those in a pair of pliers, and was probably still have a dent right there on my finger. See the dent? That's from that was from twisting those links together, is what that dent's from, which is fading away now, but yeah. So definitely thicker plastic all the way around. So we'll get these installed. I'm going to start by running these in from the bottom up into here, on both ends. I'll probably attach that one, and I don't know, maybe attach that one and move on to this step here and build this last link. Who knows? We'll see. Stand by. And I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks again, everybody. And yeah, stand by. Well, alright. These guys are all assembled and in place. You definitely want to make note of what direction. It's not going to focus on it, but they, like I said, these have like a line on one side, so they're supposed to be directional. Right here, they want them going this way. I had this one on backwards and I had to flip it around. I also painted the washer black that was on here, along with the ones on the underside. And low battery again, man. Wow, twice in a day. Alright. 1 second. Oh, back to the original flash. Alright, well, I went to the next page after that was all said and done and taken care of and all that stuff was put together. Sorry about the flashlight, man. I'm so rudimentary here. Getting down to the basics. I went ahead and put this one together as well, and I tell you, man, it's like those little plastic ends, definitely stronger than WL toys, way stronger than WL. Those really hurt my fingers putting those things together. One side I actually had to use a pair of pliers, a pair of needle nose pliers to hold on to, as well as holding on to the center with another pair of pliers, just because it was just tearing up my fingers trying to put those things together. Like to the touch, they feel kind of soft and rubbery. It's like a gray plastic. I've ran across plastic like that before in the past, and I can't remember who the maker was on with the plastic, whether it was a Team Losi truck or a Traxxas truck, but it was like that grayish colored plastic. So went ahead and put that together. We're going to go ahead and turn the page here, moving on to the next page, and I'm probably just going to stop the video after I turn the page since my camera flash went out. And I'm breaking out the LED flashlight just to see what I'm doing here. So we're turning the page here. It is dark, I am sorry. Looks like we're hooking up the steering linkage. And then something else, but we are definitely advancing fast. So maybe by the time the next video is done, we'll have this guy all put together. So 17 minutes in here, gonna end the video right here. Once again, as always, thanks for watching, everybody. Very much appreciated. Click like and subscribe. That's so hard for me to say that. Share with your friends. You know, don't hesitate to share. Don't hesitate to subscribe. Don't hesitate to tell your friends about it. Even though, you know, I'm just basic and starting out, I do try to give the most amount of information that I possibly can.